Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Benedict Howard, and the website is eBodyFUSION.com. Hey, I'm a coach specializing in microcurrent biofeedbacks. I'm a wellness coach taking people from massive pain and disease into a real place of being very fit. Now, the way I do that, of course, is coach you along the path. Nutrition is huge. So diet and exercise is huge, and but what we do is I have you self-apply these little microcurrent biofeedback devices, and today is our graduation hangout for the graduates coming through my programs. And since we've been on summer and it's August the 1st, and quite honestly, I've been partying with my boys. I have two boys, 12 and 14 years old. And so I haven't actually been taking much time out to do business, and I really wanted to take this time out with you to share what I'm going to be bringing online over the next 6 months. It's very exciting stuff. So let me just tell you a little bit about the history of these devices. I'm going to show one on the screen here. These little devices have electrodes on the end, and what they do is they tingle the skin and releases, basically charges up the energy in the body. They were designed in Russia in the 1980s. They went to clinical trials in the 1980s, where they got 88.50% cure rates across the, I think there were major 8 different disease groups that were investigated at that time. So on 18,255 people, they had an 88.50 cure rate. Now, this had all sorts of everything you can imagine. There were like groups within these subgroups and subgroups. So you can get that access to that information from my website, eBodyFUSION.com. But what they did was they basically energized areas that were low electrically. And these are microcurrents, so you just feel like tingles from the electrodes here. And yeah, you can turn them up, they get more than a tingle. Of course, the fingers tips have more sensation than the palm or the forearm or wherever. And but what they do is they charge up the batteries in the cells, and they're basically bringing energy back into the body. So if this is you with like low energy, pain, diseases, or situations that you can't resolve, even though you may have tried the best diets and gone actually full vegetarian or live foods or whatever it is, and you're still not having that success, these devices can do it. And with my coaching, you can really excel with this. Now, when they got those 88.50% cure rates across all the different disease groups in the 1980s, the medical system really didn't want this sort of technology out there. I mean, simply it runs off AA batteries. It's relatively inexpensive for what you get, and there is, especially with the results you get. And there's no ongoing continuity with like buying new meds or buying new supplements or buying this, that, and the other every month. So it was like it really, it really affected the way that this product went out. And the Russians have they don't have a very super stellar track record with their marketing efforts, but this is one of the Russian models. One up here. This is Russian for Skenar, SCENAR, which is an acronym for self-controlled electrical neuroadaptive regulation. So it's basically the microcurrent biofeedback is adapting and regulating the nerve systems in the body and bringing energy into the body. So if you're like a busy executive or just a busy housewife, soccer mom, what I can do for you is like really quickly resolve the pain issues, even though you may have been going for the chiropractor for decades or years, or just weekly visits, or you've been going to the acupuncturist, and you're not getting the results that you need and you deserve. And that's my specialty. I've been doing this since 2002 when I trained with the Russians, and it's been like a phenomenal journey, absolutely phenomenal. So I've been really enjoying that. So I'm just going to take a little breather here and go over to the other page where people will be joining in and see if we've got any results coming in over there yet, any questions coming up. So where people are coming in, we've got a couple of comments coming in, so I need to check those. When you're coming into the page here, guys, take a look below, and on below there, you will find there's an area that you can add comments. And so from time to time, I'm going to go over to this page here where you guys are and check out if you have any questions. So that way I can stay in touch with you too. So we can dialogue that way. So back to me here over on this screen. Hopefully that will have been seamless for you. What I wanted to do today was, because I had my kids, I was thinking, we'd done a lot of work over the summer, and maybe I should take my hat off, you guys. I've done a lot of work this summer with them, with like little first aid stuff. Actually, one or two went quite so little, boys being boys. So I wanted to share with you some of that, and tell you how important and how useful this is for kids. So if you have kids in your family, and you're wanting to bringing back to the Okay, Art, you need to go into the August Hangout. You're in the wrong room, as it were. So if that works for you, go ahead. And so with kids, this is really phenomenal. What I haven't told you thus far is that in order to really change your lifestyle and to really deal with the chronic situations that are going on in most of our bodies these days, it takes a lot of determination and a good vision as to where you want to go with this. And even though I've been working with my kids for up to 10 years with these devices, telling them to put them on their owies when they fall down, or their bruises, or their bites, or their burns, or whatever might be going on in terms of first aid stuff. When you continually apply this, and actually we've been developing a new protocol in the Ninja One part of the training, whereby we measure specific points on the body, and it's been very, very interesting watching how those measurements change over the days, and how the rest of the systems in the body are being balanced by those very specific measurements. Actually, they're on the face. And when you continuously apply this type of technology, and you continuously deliver electricity into the body, what happens is that the system becomes more and more charged, more and more energized. Like last Wednesday, my partner and I'm 64, she's 69, we hiked down. It was a 12-mile round trip. We went down 2,200 feet and back up 2,500 feet. I live in Hawaii on the Big Island, and just up the hill from here, like 30 miles, are some simply amazing wilderness trails in the Volcanoes National Park. So what we did was we hiked in there, and oh my God, it was so beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And we had to go down this pali, which is a cliff, which was like switchbacks all the way down, which dropped us down quite a few, must have been about 1,200 feet or so, over a very short time, and it was really hard going back up again. It was very dry. There was no moisture in the air. It was a scorchingly hot summer's day. And then finally, after about 3 hours, we got down to the ocean, and we swam there a little bit, and actually I discovered one of these beautiful caves there, and we hung out in the cool cave there and chilled down and let the sweat evaporate off our bodies and got that chill before hiking back up the hill again. So that's the type of performance that you can achieve too. If you are, if you're bedridden, or if you're just like dealing with weight issues, or you're unmotivated, that's where all of these my coaching skills come into play. And incidentally, I've been coaching people in wellness since the 80s. So I'm no stranger to this. Back then, I was specializing actually in sound medicines rather than these electrical medicines. And so I've got a lot of track record with that. We have presently we have clients in China. One actually has just left China, is coming back to the States today, I believe, later on. And another one who was in China with one of the swim teams there that he's been coaching, and the basketball team he's coaching, and actually now he's in Russia, and the swim team is competing there. So they have this secret weapon actually in the Russian Olympics. In the Australian Olympics. These devices were called the Russian secret weapon, and literally they are for all sorts of sports injuries as well. Now, how does it do it? Well, let me give you an example. Last 2 or 3 weeks ago, my youngest child, we were going across this lava field, and he tripped and fell. And he only had flip-flops on, dear heart. I encouraged him to put his shoes on, but boys will be boys. So he basically grazed off the tip of his toe, the big toe, and was crying. And I didn't actually photograph. I tried to videotape all of these things because some examples I'll show you with you later on. But by videotaping, what I found is that it really helped me to lock in. And the miracle and the effective miracle that this device does. So, if you have, like, supposing you have any of the inflammatory diseases, one of those, this can very, very quickly help to detox the cells and also very quickly get rid of the pain. So that's the number one thing that we do in the training is really focus on the pain spots. Then it's about really supporting the whole system. So with my son, we didn't actually treat him down in the crater there. When we got up on the top, we went to actually a skateboard park, and he sat there for an hour working on special techniques that I've discovered that you can, even though it's the toe down here, say on his foot, and it was injured, we can put it in different strategic locations on the ankle there. I'm just showing it. And so even though you couldn't put it on the big toe, supposing that's the big toe, there are strategic spots that you can apply the electrodes on the ankle, and it will trickle down into the toe. And after an hour or so, he was up there actually skateboarding, and he never had any pain. We never dressed it again after that. And that's one of the features of this, is that not only does it take care of the pain stuff, but it releases and charges up the body electrically so that all of the electrical functions can happen normally. You see, what happens in a disease state is that the electricity across the cell membranes, which is a very, very 2-molecule, 3-molecule thick of lipids, very similar to coconut oil, which is why coconut oil is really, really beneficial for you. And so those lipids actually form the cell membrane, which is just a few nanometers thick. And what we're doing is we're charging up that cell membrane so that all of the receptor sites that were on it in a disease state, those receptor sites go sloppy, weak, but this all tightens it up, tightens up the cellular pump, and so the functions within the cell quickly increase, and the immune system is increased, the respiratory, the blood coagulates, flowing freely. There's a huge wide range of benefits. So with Orion, what we did was we put it up there, like I was saying, on different parts of the ankle to get it to trickle down there. Now, we were using specific frequencies that are available in these units to numb out the pain, but we don't really want to numb it out. We really want to create this other plethora of benefits, which is in the 70 hertz, 90 hertz, 60 hertz range. Those frequencies release a lot of the body's own pharmacopoeia, and we call them the neuropeptides, the 5-HTP, and the different mind-body stimulants, and the serotonin, the endorphins, and et cetera, et cetera. There's like 112 of them. And they are released from the long C fibers in the body. I'm getting a little technical on you. But what that does is it releases all of this chemistry in the body, out of which things can rebuild. So, for instance, let me give you an example. Oh yeah, my mother, very close to my heart before she passed on, and she had a hip replacement due. And what we did was we placed the device on the hip joint over several weeks, and initially the pain left, and then later the tissue in the hip starts to regrow and to rejuvenate. Literally, that's what this electricity does, is it rejuvenates the body. So if that's something you'd like to do, you're getting older and you want to get more energy and you want to get out of pain and back into your dream, maybe you've lost contact with the dream, so we'll formulate that in the coaching sessions, then this is something that would really apply for you. It does take a commitment. Like any work like this, we're actually changing the paradigm. Let me give you another example. Chris, my friend, he lives about 5 miles from here. I live in the rainforest and he lives in the same subdivision. And several years ago, he was having a party. His wife had just left him, and he was very distraught. And he ended up with third-degree burns down his arms. And those burns were so bad that there were literally holes in his arms. And so when that happens, of course, you would normally, well, of course he had massive pain, but you would normally expect him to rush off to the hospital and get it all dressed and everything like that. Well, that evening, I applied the microcurrent biofeedback, as I like to call it. My website is eBodyFUSION.com, and that's eBodyFUS, as in Susan, ION, eBodyFUSION.com. And so we applied the device to his arm, and even though it had big holes, like the size, like this big, 3 or 4 quarters stacked together, we managed to turn off the pain in the arm, and all the swelling that had gone around and the blackening, all the swelling around these holes in the flesh, were also, that all depleted, well, the swelling went down very, very quickly. And in fact, this happened at around, I don't know, 8 o'clock. By 11 o'clock, the party was breaking up, and we went home. And I left him one of the units, and he just slept there. He slept that night with third-degree burns on his arm. So you can imagine how tremendously effective this is. So you're probably saying, oh, can this work on this? Can it work on that? You're thinking. Well, let me tell you that the basic premise out of which this works is that when the body is damaged, like in Chris's arms or my son Orion's toe or whatever situation you have, all that we need to do is to tingle it with these little electrical currents, and then bring that energy back into the body so that the body has the reserves and it has the energy to take care of whatever the situation is. Excuse me a moment, clear my throat. So when you have like this energy available in the body, then the body can do its healing. And then when you combine that with the neuropeptides that are being released, the body not only has the energy to do the healing, but it also has the biochemistry in which to do the healing as well. So it all works hand in hand. So it works like if you had fertility problems. And this was actually in the clinical studies. I forget what the percentage rate was, but it was very, very high, up in the 90s. You can take care of that simply because with the reproductive situations, it's because there's a lower energy in the ovaries or the penis or whatever, or the testicles, whatever that's going on there. And all you need to do is literally recharge it. So the effects of GMO, for instance, the sterilizing effects of GMO, the cancerous effects of GMO on the gut, in the colon, which is why we have such a high rates of colon cancer right now, is that the GMOs are literally so far into our body that these molecules have never been seen by any living organism before. So we don't have the reserves to counter-effect the effects of them. So that's the big effect of GMO, is that it really destroys our bodies. And that, I'm sorry to say, and this may not be new to you, but if it is, this may be a shocker to you, is that there is an agenda, and it's quite obvious if you look at especially in the United States, what we've been doing around the world over the last 200 years, is that there is an agenda to cull off the population, and we have big indicators of that going on right now. I'm not an expert in this, but if you go to Dr. McCullough, if you go to Natural News, and check out the blogs there, you will see all sorts of evidence of how Big Pharma and the AMA and Senate and et cetera, are all conspiring to basically sterilize us so that the population is controlled that way, and also to kill us off with new formed diseases and sloppy medical practices in the hospitals, etc. So, Big Pharma wants its money, and of course, a device like this doesn't yield huge amounts of money. They're very easy to manufacture. There's, all the circuitry and the algorithms have been worked out, and this one is actually made by DENAS, and it's the one that I prefer because it has a lot of settings in it, and it's relatively inexpensive. And in some of my coaching packages, these units are included in the price too. So it's just a one cost deal. And when you have whatever the situation, it could be respiratory, it could be heart, it could be any organ in this, liver, stomach, intestines, whatever's going on there, or just muscular stuff, or lower back pain, or knee joints that are rubbing, or any of that is totally, I know it may sound unbelievable, but I've been doing this for 10 years, and I wouldn't be staking my reputation, wasting my time with this. In fact, I'm presently, I guess, about a quarter of a way through writing a book on all of these experiences, detailing how to do it and the stories around it too. So when you have a technology like this that can take care of basically 88.50% of all diseases, cure them according to the clinical studies. Now, I'm not a medical professional. I can't give you any medical advice, so that's not on the slate. But it's like, I have the ability to share with you and to train you and to coach you into really moving way, way quicker into the best health than any other system out there on the planet right now. And so when you come into the coaching programs, well, I have training programs and coaching programs. And when you come into those, there's the training's a self-training thing, and the coaching is like having one-on-one time or group hangouts together, group trainings, group coaching as well. And I'll detail all of those later, because I've got different packages that I've just been designing. And and I wanted to talk a little bit more about the book too, but because that's going to be really fascinating. So, what it is like, when you have a powerful tool like this, it's not just simply a matter of going on to eBay and hunting down the best price and purchasing one. Yes, it will take care of pain very, very quickly, and maybe that's all you want it for. But in reality, it does way more than that. And that's what we've learned through ongoing usage of this device. I have people with Lyme's disease that we've gone through and successfully worked with, and they've been self-treating, so they're doing it as their own research, and the pain goes away, guys. Imagine if you're in pain and you've been in pain for a while. Imagine how it would feel not to have pain. And that's one of the things that, one of the joys that I bring to people is that ability to quickly and to confidently and competently apply these devices so that they can get beyond that pain. Now, here comes the fickler as a coach, is that, I am personally, I've been working on my own personal development for decades, and I kind of reached a sort of a plateau. I do a regular daily Ashtanga yoga practice. I run. I take massive hikes from time to time. I go swimming, and so I'm really healthy in those. I eat very, very well, and so I'm very healthy in that department. But I wasn't that way. My personal story is that when I was 14, a block wall fell on my head. It cracked my neck up and upper back here, leading to massive migraines and lower back pain and neck pain that lasted for over 40 years. And that's where I spent 40 years looking for results. Initially, the doctors have said there was only one way around it, which was to have surgery, and that wasn't an option for me. This is back in I was 14, so this is back in 1965, 66. And and so I knew that wasn't an option, and actually I didn't trust the medical system at that time either. I knew there were big errors in it, and the way that it didn't feel right. I grew up in England, and then of course over the passage of the last 40 years, we've seen where it's gone and taken us to one of the worst medical systems on the planet in America, and and the most expensive one too. So it's nothing and not at all about self-healing. It's nothing about explaining to people what really is going on. It's all about making money and getting them more sick so they stay on the medical treadmill. And that's my goal, to get you off this medical dead mill. And when you get it back into the exercise, and you can exercise, and you are getting, you're losing the weight, so that you got more power, you got more strength. And like with the client who's just returning from China, he said, Ben, I'm just so glad that I had it, because on the last flight over there, I lost my bag, and but I had what we call the PCM. He had it in his carry-on, and actually, if you have one of these, you should have it with you 24/7. And he said, I got strep throat and swollen glands, and I did exactly what you told me to in the training, and within a few hours it had passed, and by the next day it completely gone. So, for him as a busy executive that's got to show up in high rank, high energy board meetings with their team in China, what more valuable thing, to have? If you're feeling tired after a flight, you can apply the device over the skin and to certain points on the body and quickly re-energize the body. And so from that perspective, just as an executive, flying from place to place is wonderful, and it's a wonderful tool because you don't have to go and get any medications for it. You can just allow the body to do it and reinforce its own immune system to take care of that stuff itself. So it's retraining the body to do it. Now, this is part of the reason why I developed this online coaching programs, is because I realized that a lot of people that were buying these units from me just had, well, there was a sort of arrogance around it. They thought because they had the unit, they were going to be able to take care of themselves. And yes, some of them did, but most of them, it ends up on the shelf. And the reason for that is that even though it is, basically it's such a paradigm shift in the way that we're applying medicines. If it was, you're going in and you're taking your tinctures or extracts, golden seal for a wound or something, that's had a historical perspective. It's had a historical acceptance. But this technology, even though it's not new, I mean, it's been around since the 80s, so it's like nearly 40 years old. The common knowledge isn't out there yet, and that's what I hope my book, I know my book will help to change that too. Because when you are going from a place of being, sick for maybe decades or whatever it's been, right? Some people are sick for decades. Some people are bedridden when they come into my coaching, and we get them out. We get them back into being, powerful members again in their family units. So it is really about, not just about this. It's really about the mindset, of course. It's really about how you perceive things, how you move things forward, how you see your life in the future. And so instead of suffering from the pain and how that hinders everything in your life, once you get beyond the pain, and before actually, I want you to start, you really need to start thinking and planning what it is that you want to create in the rest of your life. And most of my clients are, in the 40+ age bracket. And so for them, it's a powerful way of really examining their own lives and coming to an understanding within their own person that once they are beyond, the crippling neck pain, say, that hinders everything, migraines and stuff. Once you're beyond that, what it is, you're going to have all this extra energy. So why not put it into something that's really beneficial and beautiful for you? So, it really boils down, like with all of coaching work, is like, what is the big dream? What is it that you really want to achieve? What is it that you really want to leave as a legacy in your life? How is it that you really want to respond to your family? How is it that you want to be financially set up? How is it, all of this stuff, so that's the coaching that I bring to it. with these as an adjunct to it to really speed up the process, because that's what it does. So even if you were fairly fit, like some of my executive coaching clients, and or not in much pain, just by daily practice, and when we do these points on the face, we're really analyzing deeply into the body's system as to how things are progressing, because not only do these things deliver little tingles to the body, electrical tingles to the body, but also what they do is they they can measure spots on the body, especially the ones with the LED outputs like this model and this E911 model. When you can measure those outputs, you can really see progress over time. And also, when the numbers begin to change, it's a predictive thing that is telling you that things are in change and in flux. So, for instance, like last week, I went on that mammoth hike, and I'll just show you in my diary here just how I do this. And yeah, here's a quick picture of it. So I record all these figures. This is going to be tomorrow, Sunday. So I record all these figures, and these numbers all mean different things. Well, over here, right, over here on the 29th and the 30th, and it's all back to front. But anyway, we've got extra numbers in there. And the reason for that is because my body was recovering energetically from that arduous hike and being in the sun for, well, it was 7 o'clock till 3:30. And so for whatever hours that is, plus it was maybe an hour in the cave there where we were cooling off, but a lot of time out in the sun. And so the stress in the system was showing up in the measurements of these face points. So it's really a powerful way of ongoingly referencing into the body very, very quickly in the matter of less than a minute it takes to analyze all of that stuff. So we've got a great print in there. And it's something that we've been discovering in the training because we've been doing it on steady, doing it regularly. And so if you, wherever you are, maybe you're a therapist and you want to really help people, help people in a different way. Maybe you're an acupuncturist or a massage therapist or a chiropractor or a doctor. I've trained them all. And actually, I'm one of the best in that training on the planet. And the reason why I got there is because back when I was 14, that wall fell on my head and the block came down and it cricked me up and put me in massive pain that lasted, well, as I said, for 40 years before I could do some yoga, and so long as I did exercise, I didn't get the dizzy fits, and my whole body would start to wobble and shake, and sometimes I would collapse. And when I first initially started to train with the Russians with the Skena Pro unit, I had no idea, even though I took the master's training with Professor Rovenko, I had no idea of the long-term effects of this. And things that I've discovered separate from the training have really led to remarkable changes for folks. So there was one lady, she had her daughter who had just been paralyzed down one side, and just by this simple application technique that's actually you can see on YouTube, in my videos on YouTube, I call it the brushing video. It's of me down by the ocean. And that technique restored all of that right-hand side of her daughter, and she can now get around. And last time I spoke, she got so strong, she was just walking on both legs now, and she was kind of holding onto things, but then, but all of the locomotion, she was smiling on both sides of her face, and so that really changed, her daughter immensely by the dedicated long-term application of these devices. So that is crucial to understanding what's going on, because the number one, the number one reason why these devices don't work is because people don't work them enough, or because when they go into when they're giving the body so much energy, the body begins to heal and it begins to get maybe flu-like symptoms, which we call a healing crisis. They don't understand what a healing crisis is and they back off. A healing crisis is when the body has sufficient reserves to push out the toxicity of the previous layer of, like an onion, previous layer of disease. So it can occur because what happens is that with normal medications, not so much the herbs or the homeopathics, but certainly the normal medications, they suppress the symptoms rather than letting them out. And so when the body has more reserves, actually when that suppression, the body gets more and more lower energy values. But when you start to pump it full of electricity again, like we're doing with these devices, and you will be too, I hope, and just simply because it's such an amazing technology, you better catch up with this right now, because it's like right at the forefront of where this is going, and more on that in a little bit. But when you're charging up the body, you go into this healing crisis where the symptoms appear. So heads up, this is going to happen, and you actually want it to happen, and it's a very grateful thing, because the body now has the reserves to push out this underlying cause of the pain or whatever was going on for you. Now, the training that I provide is two parts. There's a self-study component, which is all online with different lessons and different drip feed. I feed out over the months information, and then there's an email series that comes along with it that fills you in with, or keeps you in contact with the day-to-day stuff. And then we have a support group on Facebook, which is absolutely awesome. It's a secret Facebook page, and there you will be posting your readings every day so that I can take a quick look at them in the mornings and go over them and make any suggestions or answer any questions you might have. And so that you have access to me from the Facebook 24/7. And then with the coaching clients, we have group coaching and one-on-one coaching. So we have the group coaching calls, which are just like this, but hangouts where we interact, and then in the one-on-one sessions, we get on the phone or Skype or Hangout, and we talk one-on-one just to go over, just to really make sure that I'm holding your hand and coaching you and holding you accountable. That's really what it's about, is having permission to hold you accountable to attaining whatever goals that you're setting for yourself. And of course, because it's wellness coaching, it is focused on the body becoming well, but in order to do that, we really need to have the mental attitude there too. So it's like, if you're wanting to spend more time with your, say, grandkids, and having more energy or time to spend more with your grandkids, if that's a special thing, or your children, if that's a special thing, then we will focus on, strategically setting up your day and setting up schedules so that you do have time for that. And of course, that's going to be much more rewarding for you and everybody else around you. So the coaching is really a powerful way of taking people over like 3 or 6 months from maybe being overweight or in massive pain into getting fit, losing the weight, and having the energy to do more exercise and more astute as to the diet choices that you're making and the effect on the body, and all at the same time supported by electricity. So we know how electricity over the last, 30 years or 40 years has become like such a powerful tool. This computer and this whole technology of the internet wasn't available then, and we've now seen many, many miracles as to how electricity has been adapted and used for communications and for advertising, etc., etc. However, the same now applies with these little microcurrent biofeedback devices. The same thing applies, is because now when you're applying the electricity to the body, a lot of things very quickly happen, and that's the joy of this. People that have been in pain and have known about Rife machines and gone to the acupuncturists and chiropractors and stuff, in a couple of months, they're basically pain-free, and they will have been maybe going on for years, decades, and certainly within a month, and long term in a couple of months. Because really, what I want to create in you is the patterns for self-treatment, for you taking responsibility for yourself to get off the medical dead mill, and so that's my goal, is to get you inspired enough to see how to do it. Give you another example. This is a major example too. Actually, it's also a paralysis one. A gentleman, I forget his name right now, from England contacted me a number of years ago. It was like 07, 08, and wanted to know if it could be used. He just had what's called a factal in his spine, and it's an overnight thing with him. Somehow he developed a compression on the nerves in the spine around T, somewhere just behind here. And the next morning he woke up paralyzed. Had no bowel function, no bladder function, no limb function, or leg functions at all. And his sons and daughter are all medical people. And when they found out what had gone on for him, there's no medical cure that they're allowing us to use. I put it that way. And so they're brainwashing all of these medical doctors into thinking that there's nothing that we can do. Well, you're wrong. And boy, I wish I could remember his name. Let's call him George. George, he applied, and I talked to him over the phone because he was in England, and gave him instructions on what to do so that he could self-apply with, knowledge and with my backup, so that he felt confident and competent about what he was doing. Because that's kind of like when you're first applying this technology and you're trying to work out the very poorly worded manuals, how to use this stuff. You're out of, even if you've got some of the training, you're not really equipped to deal with any of the situations like I deal with one-on-one. And George, within a month or two, I forget, this is a number of years ago, I did make a video. I went over there and shot a video on him. But anyway, he got his bowel and bladder functions back and his limbs. Now, one of the things that he was really concerned about, and he had enough medical knowledge, was that when you're paralyzed, that the muscles atrophy and they become thinner and thinner. And his had done, but there are settings on these devices that you can activate the muscles too, and I showed him about that, so that you didn't lose the muscle tone, and that's what's so important. If it's like a sports situation, for instance, when I was getting back into jogging, and not so much running, but jogging, at time to time my knee would hurt or my hip would hurt, and this is a number of years back. And all it took was like a couple of minutes on the knee point, and the pain went away, and I could run on. What I'm doing now actually is I'm finding that when I run, my solar plexus gets very tight. And so I've been using the device on that whilst I'm running in order to keep the whole, deep breathing more relaxed, and so that I can breathe deeper during my jogging. And that has been really, really beneficial. And I didn't know this until this year. So even though I've been doing this for 12 years, and a lot of stuff like with whiplash injuries, I'm really, really good at that, and training you how to take care of whiplash, chronic where you can't turn your neck. It's exceedingly painful. In a few minutes, this is actually in the second month of the training, and in a few minutes you can largely release the residual stuff in there, and over that month you're going to get all underneath the shoulder blades and all loosen up the neck and get it so that it can twist freely from side to side, which is just pretty awesome. So what I've discovered is over the years is that I've understood more and more about the deep effects of electricity on the body. The profound, deep effects of electricity on the body. And don't think of this from a Frankenstein model. Electricity has been deliberately Frankensteized, and there's a whole bunch of scheme of a whole play that's been dumbing down everybody on the planet. And one of the reasons why the reason they didn't want this electrical medicines out there is because it's so cheap and effective. And it puts the whole medical industry out of business. Literally 88.50% of the medical system could be taken away by you just applying this in your own home. So guess what that would do to all of those jobs, and to the AMA, and all to the pharmaceuticals and everybody else? It's a huge paradigm shift, which is what my book is partly about. I've given it a lot of thought, because what I've realized is that, like with anybody, I often get the question, what unit do I buy? Which one? I want the top-end unit. And I'm going like, yeah, sure, go get the Ferrari. But unless you know how to drive a Ferrari, you may as well, you're going to be dead. I mean, you're going to, it's a very, very fast machine. Um, if But if you go for something like, your Toyota or something, it's going to be a lot more easy for you to learn how to drive that than it is a Ferrari. And the Ferrari is going to take you a lot of time and experience to get the benefits of having the Ferrari. Knowing how to do four-wheel drifts, knowing how to correctly understeer, knowing how to, it's a fast machine, and it's completely different than driving your regular SUV. Suck them up with the kids to school and after church or wherever. And so I dissuade people from actually buying those high-end units simply because they're not going to be able to learn those functions on it, and that leads to confusion. And in that confusion, it ends up on the shelf, and this amazing technology, which could have taken care of all of their medical problems and all of their families' medical problems, if they'd only taken the time to learn from me, they will be able to take care of that. And it's sad that they didn't. So it's like, I really persuade people to just buy the simpler units and learn to use them, because they all work exceedingly well. It's no difference. It's like all of them are delivering electricity to the body, and that bottom line is what it's all about. Now, I had to prove that to myself. I didn't, and I went and trained people with the simplest of the devices at then, which was only a 2-speed machine. It was basically a mid-range 77 hertz frequency and a low frequency 10 hertz. And we were getting results similar to what, as a therapist, I would expect to see on working with the high-end rhythm unit, which was like a $2,500 plus another $2,000 in training or whatever it was. So when they at home were getting the same results through my dedicated training and coaching, were getting results that were similar to what I could give people in a clinical environment, in the practice that I ran then. However, having your own unit is a completely different ballpark, and understanding how to use the functions on the unit is a completely different ballpark than compared to working on somebody on a massage table like I have in front of me here. And so that's where my training diversifies immensely from, and the coaching immensely from, the traditional classical, we call it, Russian training. And it's because I have this ability, and as a kid I was able to analyze things and look at things. I was very good at tearing things to bits and putting them back together again, and having them run even more better. I ended up being an engineer for General Electric, doing just that, developing new products for them and testing them in the field. And then I went to Africa, and then everything changed. I stayed in, I think it was like 22 countries. No, it was 22,000 kilometers in, I think it was like 18 countries in the 80s. And when I came back from actually during that experience, I stayed with different tribes, and really I began to understand what a nightmare our lives have become in the West, and how simple it is to live off the land and have a few drums and have a nice fire going on the full moon, and have a few simple plants growing and a few animals around. And the lifestyle that they had was way richer than what most of us think we have through having all of this wealth. And so it really changed my life, and it took me out of the engineering that I was doing then for General Electric. And it took me into really, learning to love myself enough that I could work for myself and make some money at it. And it ended up with me taking over the work of a Dr. Randall Baer, who had an academy, and actually there's full explanation of this on my website under eBodyFUSION.com, eBodyFUSION.com. Explanation on a radio show that I did recently for Taz, who actually, incidentally, was an old client from like 7 years ago, who needed a hip replacement and a knee replacement and stiff neck and all sorts of blood problems and fitness problems. And now she's like everybody who's like been trained properly. You don't leave home without one of these units. And like when I was on my walk with my son, I had the unit in the car. I didn't have it on the hike, but I had the unit in the car, and bam, that's what we did as soon as we got into a seated position where, he could walk out after he'd rested a bit. He could walk out of the crater, and but when we turned off all the pain and got him back up on his feet an hour later or so, maybe less actually, and he was out there skateboarding in the park there. So this can be for you too. It doesn't have to only be for kids. I just wanted to share that it's for a wide range of applications, and so and can take care. And actually, there's hardly a disease, according to Professor Ravenko, there's not a disease that these technologies can't take care of. Now, I'm not a medical professional, so I can't make those claims, but my experience and anecdotal experience really shows this to be totally true. So I've been my business coach asked me to look at my coaching packages, and I've realized, and I'm just going to read them out to you. So what we have available here, and what I'm going to be putting together over the next couple of months, is I already have the existing one-on-one facility to coach you one-on-one, and then we have group coaching, and then we have the self-study, which is no interaction with me other than the Facebook. You do get the Facebook support, and all of these those coaching packages are going to be evergreen, so you can just come in and join in at any time. Then what we've got is, and also I'm looking at, this is really important. Also, I'm looking at a business model for this coaching as well. So it will be about motivation, about marketing, about session procedures, collecting testimonials, creating a video sales letter to promote your stuff, and different Facebook advertising techniques, etc., which I've been using. And so that will be something that I'm going to be rolling out later for those people that want to take it to the next stage into their own personal lives and make a career as a wellness coach themselves. And so that would all be part of a certification process in there too. And then the other big thing that I'm working on, which is long overdue, is a book. Back in the 70s and 80s, in 2007 and 2008 and 9 and 2010 it ended, I amassed over 1,450 pages of transcripts of case studies of working with folks. And that never got published. But what I'm doing now is I understand it even better than I did then. So what I'm doing now is writing a book on this. And so it's got some very interesting stories. Chris is in there, of course, and George will be in there, and others too, as examples to illustrate how the electricity affects the body. And that could be for any situation that you have going. And you don't have to give it the power of a disease name. In fact, we don't use any disease names in the training and coaching whatsoever, simply because they have a lot of power. And really all that we're doing is we're looking for anomalies. We're looking for areas that have low electrical charge, and then we're just boosting them with some electricity. Just like the batteries inside of this device here, when they have those two batteries, they go flat, I recharge them. Well, that's exactly how the cells in the body are. They in a disease state or in a pain state, they go flat, the energy is very low, and when we recharge them, we can really bring it up quite quickly back to a good charge level. So let's see, I'm just going to refresh the page here and see if there's any questions, and take it from there. And what else we got? Yeah, the book's really exciting. It's taking on a mind of its own. It's like painting a picture. And yeah, I have it all laid out in terms of chapters, but I read part of it out to my partner the other night, and she said, Ben, you're a really good writer. And yeah, I guess I am. I really enjoy writing. I'm a communicator, as you probably gathered. And also, because of my science, and I don't mean this fuzzy AMA, CDC, political science, or that screws everything with the figures. I'm talking about pure science. I'm talking about, a sacred science. When you apply that type of technology or that type of knowing to this work, it's really helped to dramatically open up different possibilities and different venues of understanding how to apply this stuff. Because literally, with the Russian training, it gives you different protocols for working with things, but it doesn't really ever tell you how it works. And this little flat AA battery thing and charging it up is a total thing for you to grasp. It's like that is what we're doing. We're looking for areas in the body that are low energy, and then we're applying the technology to those low energy areas so that they can be boosted and bring up the energy in there. And let's see. I can't get the other page working, but I don't think we have any comments over there. So I'm going to finish it up. We're just coming up to the hour. And yeah, if we had any questions, I would be answering those. So let's take a look. Let's make some up. Yeah. Okay. The website is eBodyFUSION.com. Let me see if I can show you that. I'll pull it up on another page. And okay, we're just looking for comments. Dashboard. Yeah, I'll show you this website so that you can recognize it. Visit site. Open a new tab. And here we go. And the voice is going to start. My video is going to start there in a moment. When that loads, it's loading a little slow because we're on the Hangout together, so we've got reduced bandwidth. And when it pops open, I will scroll you through the front page of that, and we can just take a look at what some of the questions and answers I have down below. Okay, I've got it loaded over here. Just want to stop the video. You can listen to that in your own time. Okay. Now, go to full screen. Okay, full screen. Hang on a moment, guys. I will be right with you. Chrome. Okay, now let's go over to share. Screen share. Here we go. Okay, let's see. Is that coming through yet? Yes, it is, sort of. There we go. Okay. So that's my name, Benedict Howard, and yeah, let's see if I can go to full screen on here too. New window, private, paste, copy, find, print. I think it's just being a little slow here. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Good. Okay. Present to everybody. Now, as we scroll down the screen, so here's my goal is to teach you to competently and confidently use your skin or any microcurrent biofeedback device. I have over 13 years of experience, and in the coaching packages and the self-study packages, those are some of the details. Week 1, got a quick start orientation, 4 weeks of self-study, and the Ninja 1. Ninja 2, another 4 weeks for everyone. And then the Ninja 3, which is for professionals. And we have a 12-week wellness coaching package, one-on-one on that, which is in addition to that. And the features you get is this 24/7 lifetime Facebook group support, lifetime membership, back office, theory, application, and resources. And don't, for goodness sakes, go it alone, because your health is worth multiple times what you'll be paying. You'll be paying for my coaching and for the unit, multiple times savings. So just bear that in mind, and it's going to make sure that you get the results that you deserve. And you can read this testimony, but this is from Dr. Thomas, and he's writing this testimony to testify of your Benedict unequaled, in-depth, and relevant knowledge in the truly Star Trek arena of healing called scalar or microcurrent biofeedback. And it's kind of a lengthy one. I have learned more worthwhile and useful and important information in one conversation with me about how to best understand and apply benefits from the scanner's capabilities than all other sources combined. So, this is a photograph, actually a video of me when I was on national TV in England talking about the device before 8 million people back in 03 or 04, I forget which. Here's some of the couple of testimonies. And I've got that brushing video up there too. That's pretty cool. So, no matter what pain you have, and there's just a short list of them, and pain is not the only situation that any situation in the body can be resolved. We can do it, and you'll learn how to do it. So, ton of different testimonials. Dr. David, his wife had, or his girlfriend had, I forget what it was, endometrio. She had some bladder or reproductive problem, and it took care of the fibroids. This guy, bulging discs, etc., stenosis, MRI proven, and this is actually across the board. You could have that. This lady here, she was actually a private client, gone with a diabetes source from her legs and other things. Yeah, here's Jen, who's up above. Everybody was giving me different advice for lower back sciatica and neck pain. Lots of pain keeping me up at night, and I was miserable for 6 months. Now sleeping at night, minimal soreness after healing crisis, feeling much better. Now it's really working. So I've got, I have so many of these testimonials. I've been kind of lazy putting them up. But when you get this, I have to actually change some of this on here, but when you get this, when you get the device, I'm shipping them all out of Russia now, so they arrive in about 10 working days, and that way you can get going in 10 days. On the Facebook group support, I'll show you that page, because that's pretty cool. I'm pretty proud of how that's worked out, because it's something that I've been able to. Facebook.com, I think it's this group here. This will give you an insight into how it'll look. Oh, wonder why that is. Somebody messaged me there too, so let's just check that. And I'm going over a little bit here. So, if you need to run, I perfectly understand it. You have my website. It's eBodyFUSION.com, and now Facebook is really messing up. Oh, Facebook. Let's go back to this page. Yeah. So the website is eBodyFUSION.com, and for all your scanner training and coaching needs. And and let me go back to me. Take a look at that, and screen share. Stop sharing. Okay, here we go. I'm going to be back on live in a moment. Yeah, there we go. So it would be a pleasure to consult with you as to how you can proceed if you have any situation that you need to talk to me about. But really, that shouldn't be necessary. I've got such a phenomenal track record. I can only take on actually a few coaching clients every month. The self-study is a different situation, but the coaching clients have limited availability for that, and that's the one that you really want to get in on. Because let's face it, you're not going to, something that you've had for a year or 2 or 5, you're not going to expect to be able to handle that within a few months. So that's why that coaching style that I use is a 3-month training, because that gives you a wonderful window of opportunity to work with me one-on-one, understand what is going on, set the vision for your future, and really move your body and your lifestyle so that you can attain that vision of the future for you. So as a coach, that's my pleasure to bring to people, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the training or in the coaching too. And for now, and all the best to you. God bless. My name is Benedict Howard, eBodyFUSION.com.